I appreciate the chance to be here with you, and I want to speak as one who was known as an economic development governor. You probably thought it was about education, Mr. Chairman. Most governors...
A little bit closer to you.
All right. Most governors are primarily about jobs. They work at it day and night. They travel the globe trying to find jobs for their states. And the good ones figure out pretty quickly that if they're going to have the good jobs and they're going to create new ones, they've got to have a well-educated, highly trained workforce. Now, during the 16 years I was governor, North Carolina was ranked as the #1 state for new industry location many of those years. And in many of those years, we led the nation in the actual dollars invested by foreign companies coming to America. Now, I mention that just to say to you that what we're talking about here today is not just education. It's the economy. It's jobs. It's our future. And we all know today how critical that is. And I want to speak from the point of view of a governor who really did get involved in this. And I see Congressman Kessel, you've come in, my good friend, and one of the great governors who led on education as well as in the Congress. Good governors have really gotten deeply involved in education. They haven't just left it up to the educators. Thank goodness for them. They are the ones who are most knowledgeable. But they get out there and use their bully pulpit, and they build coalitions, and they work with business, and they do everything they can to try to make education better. I don't have to say to you what's happened to our rankings in the world. You've already done that, Mr. Chairman. I do want to commend this Congress for what you have done and the things you're working on now. I don't know how often you hear this, but I want to say to you, in addition to getting us started with federal aid to education many years ago, the action you took about 8 years ago to commit our nation to high goals for our children, for all of them, for measuring how we're doing, for looking at those subgroups, was one of the best things this country's ever done. And I commend you, and I hope you'll stay involved in that way. Now,
you can say that again if you want. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I'll give you.
But with all we've done, and we've made some progress. Let's don't say we haven't. We have. The Wall Street Journal today has the new NAEP results. High school, not as much, but we made some. But we've really been disappointed. We can do a whole lot better, folks, than we're doing. I guess if there's one thing I want to say to this committee is, don't get the idea that America can't do it. We can do it if we work together. But we've got to have leadership from here. We've gotten some good leadership. We've got to have a lot more. We've got to act as a nation if we're going to be competitive and if we're going to help all of our schools do well. One of the main reasons we haven't done better, Mr. Chairman, is the fact that the students and the teachers of America don't have a clear understanding of what they need to know and be able to do. The standards are all over the place. They are vague. There are too many. You've already talked about that. But I just want to say to you, as a governor who served in the ways that I did, I see this as one of the great problems we have today, and we've got to do something about it. Now, and by the way, let me mention to you a couple of things that the Hunt Institute has done. We have a publication called Blueprint, telling about our work with the National Academy of Sciences that has helped us in a very scientific way look at these standards around the country. So we know what the situation is, and we know that it is not good. We need to have a set of common standards for the country, for all of our schools. They need to be not all over the board, vague, teach anything you want to. They need to be fewer, clearer, and higher. But we need to have one set. Now, it's not the federal government's job, Congressman McEwen, just as you said, to do it. It's the state's job to do it, and the states are working at it already. Commissioner James will talk about it, and several of you have already mentioned it. Let me say this to you, though. Just recently, we had a national poll done by Education Next and the Harvard Program for Education Policy and Governance. They did a first-class poll. I know a lot about polls. This one was accurate. 69% of the American people want us to have one set of standards for our schools, one test or one set of tests for our schools. The great majority of the people are way ahead of us in education and in politics. They want to see this done. I was amazed when I saw those poll figures, but they're accurate. Now, you're going to hear about the efforts that have already begun. I'm very proud of that. And by the way, the Carnegie Corporation now has, along with the Institute for Advanced Studies at Princeton, has a big commission working on math and science education that will report soon. They will support this idea of common standards along with other things. But the second thing we need to do, Mr. Chairman, is to have good assessments. The assessment should measure whether or not we're learning the standards. Let me just wrap up by saying I suggest 5 things. Number 1, support state-led development of common standards that are fewer, clearer, higher. Second, push us to do the same thing with science standards, not just math and language arts. Third, sponsor development of teacher-designed curriculum that aligns with the standards and make it available to the states. Fourth, support and fund the design and implementation of high-quality state assessments. Go beyond the bubbles, the multiple choice. And fifth, and I want to say this very clearly and I'm through, let's all stand firmly behind the very fine, knowledgeable, strong Secretary of Education we have in Arne Duncan. I cannot tell you how good he is and how much I think he will do for America in education and in economic growth. I am thrilled he's here, and I just hope everybody will stand behind him and help him do his job.